So I take her to the adult section and they're taking her blood and she's looking at me and she's crying. And the nurse goes, "Mom, you need to stand over there. She's an adult now." And I'm like, what? I'm going to go to law school. And my husband's like, "Are you sure? Like, our kids are now like in high school." And I'm like, I'm going to do it because I'm going to show my girls. I only have girls. I'm going to show my girls that, doesn't matter what you face in life, A, B, C happens, but you can do it. There's no excuse. And I went back to school.
3, 2, 1, let's go. Yo.
You brought up a really good point about the 18-year-olds. And like, I see, like, that's one of the things like I forget, even as a lawyer who has so much experience with people who are injured and they're incapacitated. But once you're 18, parents are no longer legally able to act on your behalf, right?
Correct.
And
Absolutely.
so, I mean, that's crazy to think that. But
I learned that lesson the hard way. My daughter was 18 and she was a senior in high school. And I take her to the hospital. And of course, I go to the child section and they're like, "No, ma'am, she's no longer a child." So I take her to the adult section and they're taking her blood and she's looking at me and she's crying. And the nurse goes, "Mom, you need to stand over there. She's an adult now." And I'm like, what? But that happens, right? No longer am I the one that's allowed to make decisions for her.
Yeah.
She's 18. She can make her own decisions and she's going to be treated like an adult.
yeah, and God forbid something happens and they're 18, 19, 20 years old and they become incapacitated for whatever reason.
Right.
It's a car accident, it's something. If they don't have that power of attorney in place for them, I mean, I think beneath 18 years old, you can act on behalf of your minor child. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. But once they're 18, if you don't have that in place, you're going to be petitioning the court. You're going to be dealing with that. And that, like you said, is a nightmare.
Right. I've talked to several children. I call them children, but they're really adults.
Yeah.
Right. And we talk about the necessity of a durable power of attorney, your healthcare surrogate, who's going to make healthcare decisions for you, mom, dad, a third person. What about your living will? Because we've had cases that have happened in Florida where there is no living will. And it's kind of freaky, right? Talking to an 18-year-old or 19-year-old about these things because you don't want to think about that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, us as attorneys, it's our job to make sure that we do talk about those hard subjects.
Yeah, I would say I'm sure like the overwhelming majority of 18 to 30-year-olds don't have a living will. They don't have a durable power of attorney. They don't have a healthcare surrogate. But it really is something that everyone, like you said, should have, right?
Right, absolutely.
And do you prepare all those types of documents for any age with your firm?
We prepare the documents for 18 plus, and yeah.
So you have an amazing background. I know that you started before you became a lawyer. You were a legal assistant. Can you just tell me a little bit about your background?
Sure. So I started in 2000 with my now partner. I started off as his legal assistant. But going back a little bit, I had my daughter, and I didn't share this with you. I had my oldest daughter when I was 17. I was in a private Catholic school, and things happened, and I had my daughter at 17. And so I was very young when I had her. So there really was no college. There was, straight starting a family, at that point. And so I started with my partner in 2000. And if you are good at math, which I'm not, I was pretty much 19 or 20 when I started with him.
Okay.
And so I had already 2 children under 2 at that point.
Wow.
And so I started with him, started, knowing what it was like to work in the legal field. And then years went by. And I couldn't see myself telling my daughters, there's an order in life, right? An order. The order being you go to school, then you go to college, then you get married, then you have kids. Because you know what? Mom hadn't done those things, right? So I'm in this legal field working as a legal secretary. I mean, I was making okay money for what it was. And I didn't see myself being able to tell them, you have to do it this way, when I had not done anything like that. So I decided, you know what, it's time for me to go to school. It took me 10 years to get my AA.
Wow, but you did it. You kept pushing.
Crazy. And then it took me about, 2 years. I did the fast track program at FIU for my bachelor's. And then I'm like, okay, well, now I'm there. I've done it. I went to college. I can now tell them you got to go to college.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, you know what? I see my partner and, the attorneys, they're all doing good. They're making good amounts of money, and I'm always going to be stuck here, right? Because there's a ceiling when you're a legal secretary or a paralegal.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to law school. And my husband's like, are you sure? Like, our kids are now like in high school. And I'm like, I'm going to do it because I'm going to show my girls. I only have girls. I'm going to show my girls that, you know, doesn't matter what you face in life, you know, ABC happens, but you know, you can do it. There's no excuse. And I went back to school. And then I graduated when I was 35 from law school.
That's an unbelievable story.
Yeah.
That's like perseverance and like, you know, drive.
Yeah. So there I was, you know, now I'm an attorney at the age of 35, and, you know, it's been a learning experience because now I'm on the other side of things.
So it's 2025 now. What year did you graduate from law school?
2015.
It was 2015. So 10 years you've been practicing law. I can do math, a little bit of math.
I tell people,
That's unbelievable. So you got through law school. Did you do night school?
I didn't. I did day.
You had day. So were you working?
Yes.
You were working and you were doing day school.
Although I you know, you're not allowed to work that first year, but I still worked.
Yeah.
You know,
no one will know.
Yeah. It's a secret.
Yeah. The dean of St. Thomas is
right,
watching
not
right now.
watching. But yeah, I had to work. You know, there was no way financially that we could afford for me to, you know, just not have a job. And so I worked, took out student loans, and did what had to be done. What
was your experience like in law school? Where did you go, and what was your experience like?
Yeah, I went to St. Thomas. My experience was different, right? Because I was there with 20-something-year-olds, and I was 32 when I started. So, but it was interesting because I had a different viewpoint. I had a different appreciation for what we're doing there, right? Like, I wasn't there to play around. I remember there was one class that nobody had read that day, and the teacher was calling, and all of a sudden I'm in the second row because, of course, you know, I had to do good. And so second row, she gets to me after she's kicked out 12 people, and she's like, I was her research assistant, and she's like, you better have read. And I'm like, of course I read. This is what it is. And so, but, you know, so my experience in law school was different, you know. Yeah. I didn't have time to joke around and go to the galas and have fun and all of that.
But you know what? I think that, that experience, that little bit later in life and not too much later in life, it gives you an edge, I think, over some of the younger people that are there. No doubt. I took a year off. For me personally, I took a year off. I settled down. I got a steady, a job, a 9-to-5 job, and realized that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to kind of, you know, I wanted to learn the law, but when I started, it was like everyone had just gotten out of college, so they're still partying, they're still doing, you know, whatever. They're going out Friday nights. It's a social thing. Where me, I was just put the blinders on and just put all the time in, you know, right. And I think that's helpful. It definitely gives you an edge.
Right. I mean, you're just more focused, right? Like you said, you were just there. I wanted to have fun, and I'm sure you probably wanted to have fun, but it was kind of like, you know, this is what I have to do, and you have to push. Yeah,
even
push
that
forward.
1 year of maturity helped.
Absolutely.
And you had more time too, and you had kids and stuff, and so this was you have there's so many people they maybe go to law school, and it's in their minds it's not their only option. You know what I mean? Right? So they don't put their whole time in, and then they just don't make it, because there are a lot of people that don't get through law school that first year. Yeah. But someone like you, it's hey, this is it. There's no other option. Yeah. I'm becoming a lawyer. I'm going to put all my effort in. Yeah. That's really good. And did you continue to do this entire time? So it's always been estate planning, when you were a legal assistant. Tell me because you focus now on estate planning and real estate. Right. Give me the thumbnail sketch of how it evolved.
So initially, my partner did a lot of family law, and so I started doing the family law thing, and I very quickly realized that it's not what I want to focus on. I still help clients with family law just because of referrals and, you know, people who follow me, and I talk about it and I try to educate people, but it's not where I choose to put my time into. But I used to, and it was very stressful, and it was the calls in the middle of the night with the issues, and I took it personal, right? I took those issues home, and I realized that that's not where I wanted to be. I didn't want to be in that arena. And so right now I shifted about 4 years ago, and I'm I'm going to just focus on real estate initially. And then I opened a title company, and I focused on that. And then I added estate planning and probate to that about 3 years ago. And I love that because it's not adversarial generally.
Yeah.
Do I still get to have fun sometimes and fight with people? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But generally it's not adversarial. And so I enjoy that more, helping people, you know, in some of their uncertain times. Cause you know, I don't like to say that estate planning is fun. Cause I mean, most people come into the office and they get very nervous about what they're doing and stuff, but I certainly enjoy that more.
Yeah. But you know, what's when you say that you started it like 2 or 3 years ago or 3 years ago for the estate planning, like with your background, it started so much longer, like long before, because family law, real estate, like that is literally like tied into what you're planning for. You know, how do you like having that background? How does it help you with your estate planning?
It's interesting you say that because yesterday I talked to a client or a prospective client, and he had vetted other people, and then he was talking to me. He's like, "Well, you know, nobody told me that before," and I'm like,
"Yeah,
oh yeah," because I'm thinking, what's going to happen if you get a divorce? What's going to happen if, you know, you pass away, you become incapacitated, you have to sell property, or you know, all the little things that I've seen happen over the years. And so I think that's what kind of prepared me for it, and gives me a little bit of an edge with other people.
Yeah, no, for sure.